For most of human history, we didn't live in houses. We lived in caves, under rock shelters, wherever we could find cover. So what changed? Why did humans, at some point, decide we need to build something ourselves? And how did people with no steel, no machines, no modern tools actually pull it off? Let's go back, way back. In this video, I'm breaking this down into two parts. First, the why. What actually pushed early humans to start building shelters instead of just finding them? And second, the how. The materials, the techniques, and the sheer ingenuity ancient people used with almost nothing. Let's start with the why. The most obvious reason, the weather. Rain, wind, snow, brutal heat. A shelter, even a basic one, meant you could control your environment a little. Stay dry, stay warm. Increase your odds of surviving the next storm or the next winter. Early humans weren't at the top of the food chain the way we think of ourselves today. Large predators were a real threat. And as groups grew and clashed over land, food, and water, protection from other humans became just as important as protection from animals. But here's the part most people don't know. The biggest push toward permanent houses wasn't just shelter. It was farming. About 10 to 12,000 years ago, humans started growing crops instead of only hunting and gathering. And once you're growing wheat or barley, you can't just wander off. You have to stay near your fields. You also need somewhere to store your harvest, your seeds, your tools. That single shift, from moving constantly to staying in one place, is what really kickstarted permanent architecture. A house also said something. It marked land as yours. It anchored a family, a clan, a bloodline to a specific place, which mattered a lot once you had crops in the ground you couldn't afford to lose. And it wasn't purely practical either. Many ancient homes were built facing the sunrise, aligned with sacred directions, or dedicated to household gods. Like the Roman lairs and penates, spirits believed to protect the family home. The house wasn't just shelter, it was spiritual ground. So that's the why. Now let's get into the fun part. How did they actually build these things with none of the tools we have today? In forested regions, much of prehistoric Europe, for example, people built simple wooden frames. Then they wove flexible branches between wooden posts, a technique called wattle. After that, they packed the woven walls with a mix of mud, clay, and straw, called daub, to seal up the gaps. Add a thatched roof made of dried grass or reeds, and you've got a fully functional house. Now go somewhere hot and dry with barely any trees. Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, the Indus Valley. Wood wasn't an option, so people turned to the ground itself. They mixed mud with straw, packed it into brick-shaped molds, and left it to dry in the sun for days. Stack enough sun-dried mud bricks, and you get thick walls that actually keep interiors cool during the day and hold heat at night. This is the same basic technique still used in adobe construction today. When permanence really mattered, for temples, tombs, fortified towns, ancient builders turned to stone. This took serious labor. Cutting stone with copper or bronze tools, moving multi-ton blocks using wooden sledges, log rollers, and ramps, then stacking them with incredible precision. Structures like Egypt's pyramids or Greek stone temples weren't built by machines. They were built by organized labor, clever engineering, and a lot of manpower. In colder climates, some ancient groups didn't build up. They built down. They dug a pit into the ground and constructed a simple roof over it. The surrounding earth acted as natural insulation, keeping the space warmer through harsh winters. These are called pit houses, and versions of them show up from Ice Age Europe to early North America. And for people who moved with the seasons, following migrating animals or grazing herds, permanent houses didn't make sense at all. Instead, they built portable frameworks out of wood or bone, covered in animal hide. Pack it up, move, set it up again. Lightweight, flexible, and perfectly suited to a nomadic life. Here's a technique that's honestly still used today. In the marshes of southern Mesopotamia, people bundled reeds and bent them into arches to form the frame of a house. No wood, no bricks, just reeds from the river. The marsh Arabs of Iraq still build houses this exact way, thousands of years later. So if you zoom out, the pattern is pretty clear. First, humans needed shelter simply to survive. Then, once farming entered the picture, houses became about staying put, storing food, protecting land, and building a life in one place instead of constantly moving. And how they built. That came down to whatever the land gave them. Wood where forests were thick, mud where the ground was dry, stone where permanence and power mattered, reeds where rivers ran through marshland. Every ancient house was basically a direct answer to its environment. If you found this interesting, let me know in the comments which ancient building style surprised you the most: the mud brick houses, the reed homes, or the pyramids. And if you want, I can do a follow-up video going deep into one specific civilization: Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, or the Indus Valley. Drop a comment telling me which one. Subscribe if you're into this kind of history breakdown, and I'll see you in the next one.